by film.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
It's the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Mike Wazowski. Open your eyes.
Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me!
King Kong ain't got on me!
What about second breakfast?
Why not? Why can't I? How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. This is our first foray into the year 2001, and this week we also will be watching our first musical, Moulin Rouge.
The show will be a magnificent, opulent, tremendous, stupendous, gargantuan bedazzlement, a sensual ravishment.
Tim's very excited.
So excited.
So exciting, the audience will stop and
20 Years, 4 Beers is a podcast dedicated to rewatching popular movies from 2 decades ago while enjoying 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you from just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our first segment is Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my beer.
Where Tim takes us through our 4 beers, or our drinking buddies, that accompany us through the film. Theme beers are always a fun adventure for us, though this time we found it a little difficult to tie this film into specific beers. I actually was considering buying 1664, which is like a French-style lager.
Really? That's good.
Right. Or even getting some absinthe.
I thought
about getting some absinthe. But I didn't want to spend $8 on 6 bottles of crappy beer.
No.
And I really didn't want to spend $70 on absinthe. So I kind of thought that was an interesting show or a little window into my cost spectrum for this. It's like under 8 and over 7. Or over 8 and under 70. That's my window.
There's their sweet spot.
Yep. So we decided on a different route. So Tim, who are our drinking buddies for Moulin Rouge?
Yes, so tonight, or for this episode, we went less so, as you mentioned, with a theme beer and chose 4 options that match the overall theme of the movie, which is an intense mishmash of experiences. So for drinking buddies, we have 4 separate styles we'll enjoy and mash together for a spectacular tasting experience.
Ooh.
I know you love that. For our first one, we have from Bad Habit out of St. Joseph, Minnesota. Their Boat Drinks Pina Colada Milkshake IPA. Then from Modern Times out of California, we've got their Forbidden Chance Strawberry, Lime, Coconut, and Vanilla Sour.
Yikes.
Then out of Vermont,
Connecticut even.
Then out of Bloomfield, Connecticut.
Right, you were close though.
The Thomas Booker Brewing Super Duper Triple Citra IPA. And then we've got from Venn Brewing in Minneapolis, their limited release, Cinnamon Maple Latte Imperial Stout. So kind of a mishmash of styles like we talked about.
I find it interesting that our most normal sounding beer is the first one, which is Boat Drinks.
Yes.
The other 3 are just like this laundry list of things.
There's a lot going on.
That's right. So Moulin Rouge follows Christian, a young, poor English poet living in Paris circa 1899. Christian befriends other poor artists, including Toulouse, and is introduced to the exotic world of the famous Moulin Rouge nightclub. It is there he falls in love with the beautiful courtesan, Satine, who has been promised to a wealthy duke by the club's owner, Harold Zidler. Drama, romance, and song ensue in a gorgeously stylized and wonderfully imaginative world of turn-of-the-century France. The film is directed by Baz Luhrmann and written by Luhrmann and Craig Pearce. It stars Nicole Kidman as Satine, Ewan McGregor as Christian, John Leguizamo as Toulouse, Jim Broadbent as Zidler, and Richard Roxburgh as the Duke. I'm going to relay to you for your initial memories on this, because you're very excited about this. So your initial memories of Moulin Rouge.
I'll try and keep it in check.
Yeah, bring it down, man.
Saw it opening weekend and was blown away by how much I loved it. I did not expect much at the time. I was like, I like Baz Luhrmann's, Romeo and Juliet. It was all right. Cool style. Honestly, never been a huge fan of Nicole Kidman. And so, been okay. But then went into this and walked out. I bought the soundtrack right away. I was a summer camp counselor that year when it came out in the trail building. So, like, had a CD players. We were kind of getting all the kids ready to go out on their trips or whatever, and probably annoyed the hell out of my coworkers because I listened to this soundtrack non-stop. As we talked about before this, it was the first DVD I ever got. Didn't have a DVD player. When it came out that Christmas, I'm like, I'm not going to want this on VHS. So I listened to the soundtrack quite often. It's huge for me. How about you?
So your memories are of a CD and a DVD?
And the experiences around them.
Wow.
Yes, old school.
I don't know what that is. We actually will be watching this on DVD tonight, of all things. Yeah. I hated this movie when I first saw it. Hated it.
What?
Hated it. I saw it mid-July of that year, and I'll recognize why that is the case. There's two reasons why. I can't stand Nicole Kidman. If she were walking in front of me while I was driving, if she were in the street and I were driving, I'd have to pause to decide if I were going to slow down.
Wow.
That being said, I can recognize that she's a good actress.
Sure.
There's something about her that really bothers me.
Yeah.
If she ever listens to this, which will never happen, sorry.
Yeah.
And also, full disclosure, I saw this with a girl I was trying to date, and it did not go the way I thought it would go.
Alas.
So those two things, man, did I hate this movie.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, I was like, this is terrible. It's not the way it's going to go. So followed up by that is then when it came out the following Christmas on DVD, I was at college and I rewatched it then, and it was really good. Like sort of all these other things were gone and I had already seen it. The music was really popular. So I really enjoyed it then.
Good.
I now love this movie.
Yes.
For me, it's been at least probably 10 years since I'd seen it. I know might be our first movie that you've seen more recently than I have.
Like a year or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one that I have seen very often.
Clearly you had to dust off the DVD to find it. Man. So
that's right. It was in my closet.
Exactly.
We have it streaming. I just think it's kind of fun to throw it on DVD.
Yep.
So that brings us to our next segment, The Social Network. Our look back at the reviews or reactions from the time, both good and bad, if there are some. Tim is going to take us through The Social Network.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
The IMDb rating is 7.6 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Empire magazine at the time said that drawing from influences as diverse as Bollywood to grand opera, the result of Moulin Rouge is a gaudy, opulent, invigorating spectacle that, while committing to celluloid some of the kitschiest moments in mainstream film history, never loses sight of its muse, the glory of love. New York Times said Baz Luhrmann's directing style is almost a brand of obsessive-compulsive disorder. He has too much to say and grows faint over the prospect of getting all of the thoughts and ideas and words and production numbers out of his head. Our big boy Roger Ebert, 3.5 out of 4 stars.
First one he actually liked.
I was surprised. I was not sure how it was going to go, but very much enjoyed it and said the film is constructed with the melodrama of a 19th century opera, the technicolor brashness of a 1950s Hollywood musical, and the quick-cutting frenzy of a music video. It's up for 8 total nominations for the Academy Awards, including makeup hairstyling, sound mixing, editing, cinematography, actress, for Nicole Kidman, losing out to eventually Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, and Best Picture. I will say I was shocked when that was up for Best Picture. Despite my love of it, it was up for Best Picture up against Gosford Park, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, In the Bedroom, and the eventual winner, A Beautiful Mind. And ultimately did have 2 wins that year for costume design and production design, which is not very surprising. It's fantastic.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Of course.
We're going to watch our film, released in 2001 by 20th Century Fox, directed by Baz Luhrmann. Please enjoy along with us, Moulin Rouge.
A life without love, that's terrible.
No, being on the street, that's terrible.
No, love is like oxygen.
What?
Love is a many splendid thing. What? Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Please don't start that again.
All you need is love.
A girl has got to eat.
All you need is love.
She'll end up on the street.
All you need is love.
Love is just a game.
Well, welcome back to 20/4, 20 Years, 4 Beers, where we have just finished watching or rewatching 2001's Moulin Rouge, a Best Picture nominated musical. And we're actually going to jump right into our segment, which we call High Fidelity, where Tim and I discuss our top five takeaways or reactions from rewatching Moulin Rouge. I'm going to let Tim go first on this one. Tim, what's your first takeaway?
I have no words to describe how much I love this movie. It is easily a top 10 favorite for me.
Interesting.
And seeing it again confirms it. I loved it in the theater, and the roller coaster of emotions, the enjoyment, the sheer insanity of this movie. I don't know that I remember seeing it and being like, this is unlike things I've probably seen before.
Sure.
Where it was
absolutely.
Kinetic energy
Yep.
and crazy. But then it sucker punches you. And so we joked before with Castaway in a different episode of the first Tears.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second episode where...
Oh, did you cry?
Oh, I got some tears.
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
when she turns around and has her, like, the hidden song.
Yep.
Oh, man. Oh, it's so good. So my first reaction is, yes, I saw it a couple years ago. This is so damn good. I love this movie so much, which is the whole message is love, but it's
absolutely.
Just so good. So yeah, first thing I was like, I don't care about the details. I'm like, it's just so pure fun. I love it.
I think in Ebert's review, when you didn't mention it earlier, but in reading it in our research and stuff, he talked about how the editing style was not something he loved. This was not his, that very kinetic and editing, 3 seconds in, 4 seconds in, it's not his style. It felt like a music video and Michael Bay on steroids. And it is exactly what a movie like this needed. It was in such a way that it really enhanced your enjoyment of the film, in that in scenes that it was supposed to be loving and romantic, you had more time in between the cuts and that kind of stuff. But then in the dance scenes and the scenes that are supposed to be more emotionally, like sort of like I'm supposed to get a reaction out of this, it was like 2 or 3 seconds at a time. I was very aware of the editing in this film, and in the best possible way.
My second thing was, so I remember seeing it in the theater, like I mentioned before, and having a feeling of like, this was the second Lerman film I had seen, because he did Romeo and Juliet before this. And I never saw Strictly Ballroom before that. But I remember thinking then, and seeing again now, even after seeing other movies he's done, like Australia and Great Gatsby, his movies almost require like a 30-minute acclimation period, where it's almost just like, just buckle in. It's going to be really discombobulating, really surreal. Give me 30 minutes and you're going to get sent. Like, it's just like weird barometer. Like, okay, now, like, so when everything is just crazy insane until he hits the moment where Christian sings Your Song, and it kind of decompresses a bit. Okay, then they go to the spectacular, and the elephant song. Like, it's all like, the movie is crazy, but it almost is like this, like, okay, we're gonna let you breathe for a little bit. Yeah, Lerman, his movies require, again, this 30-minute acclimation period. Mm-hmm. So like, cool, this is the craziness, and the editor does a good job of focusing it. But watching again, I'm like, when they have like the can dances come out to like Nirvana, and it's like, what is happening?
Right.
This is just overload.
Yep.
But then it's like, whew, okay, now we're in the story, and the emotional thing kicks in. So yeah, I just think like, whenever you watch a movie, give yourself about a half an hour to really get your feet under you.
I also wrote down that the first 30 minutes, it feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yep.
In that it feels like spectacle versus substance. It's spectacle over substance, and then Your Song, when he sings Your Song to her, it completely shifts the story 180 degrees.
Yep.
My gift is my song.
And this one's for you.
In that now, so you've sort of been like, oh, I'm really enthralled in what's happening, and then in this moment you're hooked.
Yes.
But in this film, it really does, and it takes you a half hour, and then it has to hook you.
Yes.
And that's the same moment I wrote down. That your song.
I love it. Yeah,
it's perfect.
Like we talked about, like when the movie was on, like when like maybe 5-7 minutes in, and, like all of a sudden he's singing like "The Hills Are Alive,"
right? Yeah,
the Sound of Music. You're like, oh, this is the kind of music you're going to. In terms of like, oh, you're going to repackage these well-known things,
right,
in this vein. But yes, it clicks and it shifts.
Yeah, this is the movie you are of saying like the best musicals are the ones that just admit what they are.
Yes.
Right, and that's what it is. And so it didn't take long to get to, this is the musical you're going to be. I get it. And so this is along that same lines.
So my third point from High Fidelity was, we talked before about our maybe mutual displeasure, for lack of a term, with the acting of Nicole Kidman.
Sure.
And maybe my biggest critique is, as a consumer of enjoy like these things, it's always felt like she's acting, like you can, like, it's very transparent, she's an actress kind of thing, or an actor. Like it always felt very like transparent. I don't know, she is so damn good in this.
I agree.
So
previously said I wouldn't stop for her in traffic. I agree.
She's so good, and I wonder if it's actually maybe because she's playing an actress, whereas leaning into that like distaste I have of her like being an actor, but it reveals these layers of her having these vulnerabilities and wanting to do this. Her whole thing of being a courtesan is because she wants to be a real actress. It's a means to an end. But the highs, the lows, the tiny like fake smile she gives to him on the top of the elephant, I'm like, yep, gotta go. But then as her layers come apart and come down, and she is so unbelievably good. Watching it, I'm like, God, she's so good. So yeah,
right.
I will hang my head like, I don't like her majority of this, but man, she is fantastic in this movie.
I won't piggyback on a sense of Nicole Kidman, but I will say it from a Ewan McGregor standpoint. I did have to look up who the hell was nominated other than Ewan McGregor, because he was not nominated for Best Actor, as you discussed earlier. And I know that there are a lot of other good performances.
Yeah.
And Denzel Washington won for Training Day.
Yep.
Russell Crowe was up for A Beautiful Mind. Sean Penn for I Am Sam. Will Smith for Ali, and Tom Wilkinson for In the Bedroom. But man, you could argue easily Ewan McGregor is better than 2 or 3 of those other people when you watch this film. And I think Nicole Kidman's good. But watching this again, and the first time in about a decade, boy, Ewan McGregor really stood out to me. But what do you got to do, man? He's so good in this.
Yes.
He's so good.
Yes. I will defer a bit because that's part of my hot take.
Oh, okay. McGregor. That's fine. We can move on.
But, yes, I have much to say about my... Yes, okay. So
that's 3. You got 4 coming up.
Yes. So to this point, we kind of joked as we were watching it. Like, I love when movies introduce me to new actors that, at least at the time, come out of nowhere for me. So Jim Broadbent as Ziegler and Richard Roxburgh as the Duke. Seeing it again, they are so phenomenal in their roles. In carrying when Ewan or Christian and Satine have their, obviously the crux of this movie, you have to have solid surrounding characters to kind of have some foil, kind of lighthearted drama, whatever you want to do. The two of them, especially in the Like a Virgin scene.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. They fully commit to the absurdity of this dynamic, but the two of them, I remember seeing the time, I can't remember I had ever seen them before in anything.
No.
They're phenomenal. Of him, Jim Broadbent with the Ziegler is like the big, I'm the showrunner, but like the touching moments and the caring, like, he calls her my sparrow. Like, just beautiful moments. But then like the truly mustache twirling villain, absurd.
He's so good.
But
he's so good.
The trying to connect in the elephant song around like the feeling inside. It's just like he's so good. Yeah. And so I love being introduced to characters. Through like actors like this, and so seeing it again, kudos to them. They're phenomenal in their roles here.
So Baz Luhrmann, you covered the Oscar nominations, did not get a director nomination nor a screenplay, and I can wrap my head around Baz Luhrmann not getting a director nomination. But the fact that this does not get nominated or appreciated for a screenplay standpoint. Is very surprising to me. And I did write down, I guess it would depend on how you submitted this, right? In that the original screenplay awards went to Amelie, Monsters Ball, Gosford Park, Memento, and The Royal Tenenbaums. Very good films. So
that's tough competition.
As much as this is very good, I could argue like, no. But all it would take is the number of Shakespearean themes to this film.
Yes.
You could do "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," claiming that this is adapted from Homer's The Odyssey, and just pick any Shakespearean play and claim that, and it would be better than Shrek or Ghost World, which were up for adapted screenplay that year.
God.
Right? So, I mean, like, you could easily make it better than that.
Yes.
And so I'm very surprised that there was no nomination or understanding or sort of appreciation for the screenplay in this. I would love to know, these songs had to be in their brain when they wrote the script.
Absolutely.
Because you can't have lucked into this as the screenplay and the way these songs drove the screenplay. So they must have had an understanding of what they could get in a rights, like the rights for. So that has to play in the screenplay. And then the Shakespearean side of it. I mean, so it really ties into that. I'm very surprised that it wasn't nominated for screenplay.
Totally. I mean, you had like maybe 5-6 years between Romeo and Juliet and this to kind of plan and prep for.
Sure. Around there.
So I can see them having a method to that madness of what popular songs or, things would connect. So the only critique I'll offer, and it's not so much for this movie, it's just in general, these kind of stories. That being said, it's a minor critique because I still am okay with it because I love what it provides. But I always kind of get slightly annoyed with any kind of movie that's told via the protagonist's memories, which includes details which would have been outside his direct view. Especially with Satine dying, spoiler, but it's right away. So if you watch a movie, you know she dies. But like things that happen with like the contract negotiation, the Like a Virgin song,
right?
Like, unless he took time with his, I'm going to do a typewriter, I'm going to put our story together, and I'm going to interview Ziegler to see what his experience was, because he's the only by proxy that would have had the perspective of Satine, other people. But I always get slightly annoyed of, this is your flashback story, but you're going to have details that you would have never known. And so it's a minor quibble for these kind of things where I'm like, you would have known. Okay, so that, again, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't remove my experience.
The minor quibble I had as I was thinking about it, is totally random, is, boy, did The Greatest Showman miss its mark when it came to retelling of facts, like a real life thing, but under fictional circumstances. Yes. And it missed a golden opportunity. It just did. Yes. And this movie could not have... this movie cannot have been told in a... Like, so Greatest Showman is... I really enjoy that film. We've watched it. I really enjoy that film. But it missed its mark in a tapping into an emotional standpoint. Yeah. Really touching into what things you could... real life themes. Yes. But I do think that what it missed was what this movie taps into very well, which is that love. It taps into the just love and same kind of time frame, same time period. Sure. And I will say that that's what it struggled to tap into.
Well,
I will say from a Moulin Rouge standpoint, it really did well in tapping into the emotions, and whereas like Greatest Showman did a great job of tapping into really enjoyable songs and really key themes, but the story is so basic and paper thin. Yes. And I think Moulin Rouge taps into both. And so I don't know why, but I kept thinking, God, Greatest Showman, you could have been so much better.
Yeah, but I think it's the earnestness of, I think what I loved about Greatest Showman was it's just very transparent of like, we're going to have a good time and we're going to be very earnest in our having a, like, this is so enjoyable, but you're right. It doesn't have much of the gravity.
Damn it. Greatest Showman. You could have been so much better. And I love that movie, but you could have been so much better. All right. So we actually are going to hop into our beer reaction segment, which we call Drinking Buddies, the sequel.
Let's get weird.
And this is where we give our ratings for the beers that we had. Considering that I actually forgot the names of our beers and I only wrote down the breweries, I'm going to let Tim take over here and give us a start with what we had for our 4 beers for the night.
So the first one we had was Bad Habits, Boat Drinks,
yeah.
Pina Colada, Milkshake, IPA. 4.5 for me.
Sure.
This was, man, a good thing to start with in this movie.
Yeah, I think we did say, like, we went light to dark, kind of like this movie did. Not to overdo it, but we did go lighter to darker.
Yeah.
This is a Pina Colada milkshake. That's a good way to start.
And much like in the movie, to start with, you're like, what is happening in my mouth?
Yeah. My God.
What are these flavors? What is this? The Pina Colada milkshake, really good. I think we had a different one from them before with kind of a coconut type of feel.
We had their
Castaway one.
Coconut.
Yes. 4.5 out of 5 for me. This was so dang good with the pineapple. They do really good milkshake IPAs, and this was a really subtle, kind of solid flavor. So yeah, loved it.
I agree. And I had 4.5 as well. And this is one that they do. I am fully biased towards Bad Habit. They are my top 3 brewery in the state of Minnesota. And so I totally am. This is one that it's nice in the middle of winter to have a bit of a feel of summer.
Yep.
And what they do better than most is they have lactose or milkshake drinks, whether it's sour or IPAs, they have a variety. And never does it overdo the creaminess or that sort of like
the additive.
Right. And it doesn't feel like it tastes on your tongue weird. It still feels like a beer, but with these other things. And a lot of times you have lactose beers that are just like, ugh, I feel like I have to scrape off my tongue after this.
Yeah, my teeth.
Right. This is not what, and give me that coconut. I remember asking, did this have lactose or something like that? Yeah. And it didn't. And it was like good because it didn't need it. Yes. So they know exactly what they're doing with that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Really good.
Love it. I had a 4.5 as well.
Then we had the Modern Times out of California, Forbidden Chance, Strawberry, Lime, Coconut, and Vanilla Sour. 4.25 for me. It is such a wonderful beer. The odd thing of a sour, but all those flavors together have this like kind of crazy robust flavor together. So yeah, very, very good.
I had a 4.5 on this. Might be the first time I've overrated you, quite frankly, actually.
Yes.
I had a 4.5.
It's good. It's good. Then we had the Thomas Hooker Brewing out of Connecticut. Their Super Duper Triple Citra IPA. This is really good.
Yeah.
4.75.
Woo! There we go.
For a triple IPA.
Yeah.
We've had some that are, it's a pretty divisive beer as far as like, you can feel the alcohol.
Yeah.
The ABV is like, whew.
Yeah, I agree with that. For sure. What does it have the ABV on there?
I will look for it as I'm talking.
It's got to be an 8 or 9 or something.
10% actually.
10. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is such a phenomenal, mellow, it has an incredible flavor to it. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with this. Yeah,
totally agree.
4.5.
So I totally agree in that. I mean, it's still a 4.5 for me, as it's pretty standard. Usually I'm at the same or a little bit less. I will say this as a triple IPA is very fruity.
True.
It's got a nice, almost hazy style to it. So I have a 4.5. I think that's what I've rated a couple times. This is an outstanding beer.
For our final beer, I will admit a bit of a beer foul. And my splitting it across the two of us was so enwrapped with the experience of Moulin Rouge that I wasn't quite paying attention and spilled a little bit. So I'm sorry about that, Steve.
Yeah, my carpet will rebound.
No.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
It's Ven Brewing out of Minneapolis. Their limited release cinnamon maple latte imperial stout. I had a 4.5 for me. It was a really nice blend of these where I must admit, I don't know that I felt much of the latte or like the coffee come through, but the cinnamon and the maple together was a really good like combination. So I liked to end on it. It was good. I
do agree in that I actually started with the 4.25 and went backwards only because if you're going to claim to be something, you have to live up to that something.
Sure. Yep.
So I got the cinnamon. I got the maple.
Maple, yep.
I did not get the rest of what they said.
No.
It dropped it to a 4, which, as anyone who listens knows, 4 or above for us is fine. It's great. It's a totally serviceable beer. It just went the opposite direction.
Overall, a good combination. It felt like maybe the best combination.
This is easily our best 4 beers.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overall.
Yep.
Absolutely.
No real divisive anything. Well, there we go. All right. So we have Hot Shots. So this is our Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2.
You're American. Yes, from America.
Where Tim and I offer up a hot take that may or may not have been there 2 decades ago, largely because perhaps we have 2 decades of perspective since then.
Yes.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go to you. Yeah, you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I already hinted at I'm talking about Ewan McGregor, so you talk about you.
Fair point. My hot take is somewhat simple, but as somebody who did not like this movie the first time around, for sure, and who loves musicals more than most people should, this is to me the best musical since Beauty and the Beast of 1991. So in the last 30 years, I would not put that above that.
Sure.
But I love Chicago. I love La La Land. Star is Born is really good. There are many examples of good musicals in that time frame, many of which have been nominated for Best Picture or won in Chicago's standpoint. I would say this is the best musical in the last 30 years.
Yes. And I think because it came out of nowhere in the sense of this director, his experience was pretty limited in Hollywood.
Yeah, very, very new.
Yes. Yep. And so to think that A Knight's Tale was the same year where it's like, having similar type of like pop hits, but like and then like the days of like Nights.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, here's kind of like a Armageddon and Deep Impact type of like, oh, here's a different like theme variation of a theme. But this, I like that. That's good.
I saw Chicago 6 times in the theater. I adore that movie.
Yes.
Right? It's my Titanic for you. Like it is just movies that I've seen that many times in the theater.
Yes.
And I that's not to diminish those other films by any means, but I would say that from a enjoyability and emotion standpoint, both a romantic laughter, we laugh a ton in this movie. I would say it's the best musical in 30 years.
Oh, I love it.
You got it.
So for me, the thing you mentioned about Ewan McGregor, like similar thing I looked up when the movie was on, like who was up for Best Actor this year? And to me, like I guess having not seen it in so long, like Tom Wilkinson in the bedroom, like
which we will watch again later this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, really? But seeing this, and it is just knowing that prior to this, pretty much he was known for like Trainspotting, was kind of his big first kind of interest in the world.
Yep.
Velvet Goldmine was kind of like things come together. And obviously by this time he was Obi-Wan in the prequels.
Yeah.
But has kind of like an underrated thing. But
and really the only good thing about the prequels.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
But I would say he is one of the most underrated actors of this generation in terms of recognition, awards wise. He's a solid, marquee name. But in under a few minutes, like what struck me for this was his like anxious, overwhelmed, nervous kind of ingenue into this presence of this amazing courtesan. And then in a split second, when he breaks out to Your Song, you can just feel, holy God, this guy's good. Like I had never heard him sing before. and he came out of nowhere. Because you can see in this movie, people other actors are like they're kind of either lip syncing. Well, maybe everybody is, but like I'm not quite sure everybody's really singing. Like Jim Broadbent clearly is not singing.
No, yeah,
and Nicole Kidman maybe like
Nicole Kidman is, yeah, she's good. Yeah,
he is unreal in this movie, and I think he's just from then on solid. And I truly think he's so underrated for the caliber of acting that he can do pretty much anything that I've seen. So love him.
We recently watched Dr. Sleep. He's terrific in that.
So good.
Right. And so I will say I agree. I think Ewan McGregor is definitely undervalued in his films.
Yes.
Arguably he's more important to this film than Kidman is.
Yes.
Our final segment of the show is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program 21.
Where we search for fun, quirky, or even difficult trivia nuggets throughout our research for our next film and attempt to stump each other. I've got like 5 or 6 apparently set aside, so maybe we'll just ask them and I can edit them out.
I've got 3 now. That
you got 3 now that we're doing it? Let's screw it. Let's just ask them. That's fine.
I'm going to put on you to edit.
Let's go. That's right. Yeah, we got it. So I'm actually going to let you go first because I have to get my notes together.
I'm going to do one that I'm pretty sure you're going to edit out.
Love it.
Because you just mentioned it before. But yeah, at the time of its release, a musical hadn't been nominated for Best Picture in over a decade.
Oh!
What 1991 film was the last musical nominated for Best Picture?
Beauty and the Beast.
There you are.
Look at that.
You're saying, I'm like, God.
Yeah,
You're killing me.
All right.
So that's one down.
There we go. So this film did not receive a Best Director nomination, making it very difficult to win Best Picture.
Yep.
Only 5 films have ever accomplished that feat, to win Best Picture and not be nominated for Best Director. Twice in the first few years. I'm not going to ask you to talk about those first couple years of that. In 1989, Driving Miss Daisy. But interestingly enough, in the last 10 years, this has happened twice. Can you name either or both films?
Argo is one.
Absolutely. Ben Affleck.
Oh, man.
Oh, I could rant about Argo and how that won because of that. But,
yes,
all right.
It was, yeah. Oh, Best Picture.
In 2018, the Best Picture winner.
Oh, my God. 2 years ago. Why am I drawing a blank? It wasn't Roma. It was the other one.
It went to Green Book.
Yes. With the
so Peter Farrelly, of all people.
Yeah, of the American
Pie. All of the, not American Pie, but of something called Mary and that kind of stuff.
Dumb and Dumber. Yes, that's right. Yes. Interesting.
What do you got for me?
So I'll give you maybe a hint here. But the movie begins with the song Nature Boy.
Yeah.
Originally released in 1948, but covered in countless ways by multiple artists since then. And this one by David Bowie. Can you name the artist who originally put out this song who has 3 names?
I can't. I don't know. What do you mean? Like in 1948?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for bringing obscure trivia to the game, know. Man. I've been throwing obscure trivia.
I felt like I had to
forever.
really stump you.
Yes. So they have 3 names?
He has 3 names. He has 3 names. Let me narrow it down.
Give it to me.
Nat King Cole.
Oh, yeah, okay. I have no actually understanding in my brain that I've heard that before, but okay.
I know.
He does have 3 names.
Because we talked about,
as we all do.
Yes, in this movie, I'm like, the great thing is, like, we talked about, like, the show must go on. I'm like, I didn't know until, like, 10 years after this movie that it was Queen. I'm like, oh my God, I heard on the radio. I'm like, this is Queen! This is Moulin Rouge!
Right.
These things, like, slowly
I definitely think that is the benefit of, the power of this movie is so many, like, songs that, especially when you consider again before Spotify and iTunes and that kind of stuff, that these they sort of like put all these songs together in such a way that made so much sense.
Yes.
All right, Nat King Cole. I did not. There you go.
There you go.
All right, here you go. Ewan McGregor was actually roommates with an Oscar-nominated British actor in the early to mid 90s.
Oh boy.
Any guess on which actor that might be? It's so obscure. It has nothing to do with Moulin Rouge. But I looked this up and was like, I'm sorry, what's that now? He was actually roommates with this person.
Ralph Fiennes.
That's a great guess. Jude Law.
I can see that.
Yeah.
About the same
And
age. Yeah.
fun story, they also were roommates with Johnny Lee Miller of Trainspotting fame. They were roommates at the same time.
Oh, Miss Money Betty.
I know, man.
Man.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Thanks, Google.
Oh, man.
You have another one? You have a third one?
I do. But
I'll ask a third one
It
after
might
this.
be pretty easy. But
bring it.
It's largely because I think it's just a stupid rule with the Oscars. So, come what may, for this movie...
Circling it.
Oh, so maybe it's a...
It's my fourth one, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you, man.
We'll go get wasn't allowed to be nominated for Best Original Song for this movie because it had been written for, but ultimately not used in Lerman's previous movie. What was that movie?
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. But I agree, and I was like, come on.
Really?
Absurd.
I guess it's okay.
All right, my last trivia.
Ooh, I like it.
Whatever. Nicole Kidman suffered rib and other injuries in this movie.
Consumption.
Yeah, while filming Moulin Rouge. As a result, she had to be replaced in an upcoming, she had to replace in a movie coming up after that. In 2002. Any idea what film that would have been? It's a feature directed by David Fincher.
Oh my gosh. 2002? David Fincher? I'm so embarrassed. I don't know his...
Starring Jodie Foster.
Oh, Panic Room?
Panic Room. She was originally set to do Panic Room. But she had to be replaced because of the injuries on Moulin Rouge.
Wow.
And so imagine... And I think we're all happy that didn't happen in that... I don't want to wish injury upon people. This from the guy who said he wouldn't stop for Nicole Kidman in traffic, potentially. But I really am like, oh man, that movie would not have been as good without Jodie Foster.
About casting what ifs and stuff.
Right.
I don't know, man.
I know.
That would not have worked.
I could not. I was reading that. I was like, are you serious?
Fantastic.
Nuts.
Oh, that's good. I like it.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode on Moulin Rouge. Our next episode will be a very surprising hit, actually, and our first remake, as far as I'm aware. Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
And so it brings us to the end. We want to say thanks for taking some time to listen and for clicking that like and subscribe button on your devices. Follow us on Twitter at years_beers and on Facebook if you're so inclined, or head to 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve, and this is
Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks. Super Duper Triple Citra IPA.